I want to encourage you. A lot of you are dealing with a very high level of stress, and saints, I would not, in a million years, try to tell you how to feel. Uh, these are very heavy times. I lost my first cousin last night. She had heart issues as well. And several friends that I grew up with had to be rushed to the hospital, and all of them are they're coming along. And I know that I am not the only one that has had a rash of news, and I've been trying to work on my, not so much my attitude, but this feeling of impending doom. That's, we shouldn't be there. And I'm here today to speak to those of you that are under a heavy weight. I know a lot of times when we come here and when we leave our homes, we want to be uplifting, and we want to encourage people. And some days that's more difficult than others. But I'm here to just share with you that in spite of what occurs, and in spite of our sometimes confusion, He still reigns supreme. And I know a lot of times I'm always trying to encourage you to take charge of your emotions. But sometimes some stuff's just a terrible blow. And I'm not here, again, to tell anybody how they should feel. How you feel is how you feel. And you're allowed to feel however you want to feel. And you don't have to put on a happy face. You don't always have to be positive. I know that's not Christianity, but it is living life. He's for us. He loves us. But His will be done, whether we understand it or not. First scripture is Isaiah 55, 8 and 9, and most of you know this, but we're going to go over it anyway. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And in dealing with, passing and getting reports about, people that you love and are concerned about, when you hear that, it can take a toll. But saints, don't try to do this thing alone. Don't try to, it is not your responsibility as a believer to shoulder everything that's happening. We need to reach out to one another. Sometimes, during the course of the day, some of you feel alone. Well, when you feel alone, call somebody. I mean, and if you really get desperate, you can call me. Whether you think you know me or not, please call me. But I'd rather you call someone that you can trust, that you have confidence in. And that's not to say you don't in me, and I have nothing to do with this, but there are too many of us in here that feel alone. When somebody calls you, don't just look at the name on your phone. Answer it. Particularly if they are from here. I mean, believe me, I'm guilty of that. Not when they're from here. Now, I might complain. But saints, we need each other more and more. Now, even if it's just a 5 or 10 minute conversation, you'd be surprised. You can lift somebody's spirits. You really can. And Linda, my cousin, she left at 9:20 p.m. last night, and Arthur sent a text out to everybody, and I don't always look at my phone, but it was about 4 o'clock this morning when I looked at it. I was like, oh man, I mean, and I just I had to sit down because I said, Father, just Friday, this past Friday was when I found out about Connie and Ralph. And I was down at Fort Lee and I was doing some work, and I told the guys, I said, hey, look, I can't finish this. Sometimes life can bring you to your knees. And and then I had to remember Isaiah. Because, sometimes I'm like, what is going on? Now, when I say that, I realize I'm not due an answer. But the human aspect of me gonna ask questions when you hear stuff that, wait a minute, hold it. It's almost like I want to say, wait a minute, that's not fair. Well, hey. And we were given some instructions about a week or two ago about repenting about things in our lives. And I hope that some of you got an opportunity to do some of that. Because, saints, we need to do something. This wave of death, we need a reprieve. But I'm here to say to you, because it's even in this, please don't try to handle things by yourself. That's what church family and real family is for. Too many of us have a somewhat of a Lone Ranger mindset. Some of us think we super women. Some of us think we super men. We're not. We are flesh and blood, human beings. We need each other. We need somebody sometimes just to a slick thing you can do if you don't want to admit, man, today is a tough day. Just call them up. Just say, hey, how you doing? Like I called Donnie, how you doing today, man? And in the hopes that he'll know, well, wait a minute, Barry don't normally call me just off the. So he may have the perception that, hey, man, I'm doing fine. How you doing? Because, see, now, when he asked me that, I'm going to be honest with him. I don't want to have a church type conversation, because pastor title, if Barry calls Donnie, Barry is calling Donnie Hodge. Am I making any sense? See, too many people have given themselves titles, and I'm going to tell you, folks, a lot of that stuff don't mean a whole lot. It really don't. Listen, real love has nothing to do with a title. Real love is between human beings. Real compassion flows heart to heart, breast to breast, regardless of how you function in the body. A lot of us sometimes we're trying to figure this thing out. It's like, well, you see, what he's doing is, and I've gotten to a point now, I kind of cringe when I hear people trying to espouse as if they know what he's doing. I don't care how long they've been in the ministry. I don't care how many members they got. No one knows what he's doing but him. That's part of what makes him who he is. And we need to remember that. Jeremiah, he says, call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things, which thou knowest not. So that's why sometimes when stuff happens, I'm like, well, wait a minute, hold it. Don't we get a warning? I'm not asking you to do that. That's just what I do. But even in the chaos, even in the sadness, even sometimes when not you, when I get angry, I got to remember, you can get as mad as you want. What can you do? Another one that we all know, and who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. I'll tell you something else that keeps coming to mind every time something happens that I don't like. And I don't mean I'm saying I don't like it like what I think and what I feel matters, because I realize it doesn't. I am of the created. I don't make policy for the Creator, and neither do any of you. But I try to remember, he said, we're here for his pleasure. But a lot of times we forget that. And I ain't fussing because I forget it too sometimes, because that's why I react the way I do when it's bad news, but I'm working on that. Like I gave the example when Donnie told me he was going to check on his mother-in-law. And the first thing out of my mouth was, oh, what's wrong? And he said, nothing's wrong. He said, we're going to check on her. And then he disclosed that they were going to try to talk her into, moving back with them. And I told him, I said, man, that's a good man. He really loved his wife because he's going to move his mother-in-law in with him. And that went right over a lot of people's head, because that's no small thing, folks. That is no small thing. Don't raise your hands, but how many of us, if we had that opportunity, would do that? Don't have to be the mother-in-law, it could be the father-in-law. Don't, just think about that. See, real acts of love are what's needed more. This is why we need to pick up the phone if somebody calls. You don't know where they are right then and there. Believe it or not, you might be that person's last hope. Some people may not want to continue on. One of the worst feelings in the world, I think, is when you allow thoughts to come in and the thoughts start telling you, nobody loves you. You don't have any friends. There are a lot of people that wrestle with that. And get up, man, and put on a nice outfit, get in one of their fancy cars, and come driving, come to church, praise the Lord, on the outside. But some people are even giving up the will to want to live. I'm like, man, no, don't listen. A new day is on the horizon. Saints, still, we should desire long life. We should desire long life, even if you're at a point where, man, I'm tired. I can't take no more. Well, yeah, you can. Somebody need you. It might not be but to just hug your neck. A lot of people that have gone on, man, we don't want to leave a gaping hole in somebody's heart. I've had conversations with some of you, and it kind of blessed me. I'm not going to get into specifics, but I had a conversation with a person that goes here, and they just blessed me tremendously because they said to me, if something happened to my parent, I don't know what I would do. And I was like, yeah. It blessed me to hear that from them because I had been saying to the parent, they love you. But sometimes in our day-to-day quest, we don't feel like it. We have little skirmishes, we have little family issues sometimes. But folks, I tell you, all of that stuff pales when we got these many people leaving here. And you mean to tell me you're going to have an issue with somebody? And when you really start looking at it, it almost borders on silly. Saints, don't take your eye off the ball. I called one of my buddies and they released him from the hospital, and he was going home. And I said, well, look, man, I want to come by your house. He says, no, man, because he had COVID. And I said, look, I got some stuff, man. We'll knock all that stuff out. Let me come in here. I'm going to spray your whole house. He said, no. A lot of them they just said, no, Green, I don't want nobody in my house. The good thing about it, his neighbors across the street, this is, again, see, you got to be a good neighbor. His neighbors got concerned because, like, for 2 or 3 days, they didn't see his car. So they called his niece, and his battery on his phone died. That's why he won't call nobody. But, you know how the telephone network goes. So friends start calling, hey, man, somebody go check on him. Go do this. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And so finally, I believe I begin to get on his nerves. Because I said, well, look, man, I ain't trying to bum rush you. He said, yes, you are. He said, I'm telling you. He said, Green, I'm all right. Leave me alone and don't come to my house. Well, we got that kind of relationship. But he knew, but then he said, look, man, I know. We grew up together. You lost both of your parents. My parents gone. He said, Green, I'm telling you, I'm going to be fine. You can call me and check on me, but I don't want anybody in my house for, I think, 14 days or something? I don't know. So I said, all right, all right. See, in showing our concern, sometimes you don't want to go overboard. But if you got a strong enough relationship, they'll tell you, hey, man, you're getting on my nerves now. But it gave me an opportunity. I asked him, I said, did you hear from your brother? And he said no. When their mother passed, she wanted the younger to be the executor. And, death brings out some interesting traits in some people. And my hope was that they would reconcile, because they're the only two left. Everybody else is gone. And I got a call from another friend that I just hold her in such high regard, because this young lady buried her father, her mother, her sister, and her brother. That was her, at the time, primary family. And I don't know how she does it. But she was very concerned about our common friend. It was like, look, he'll listen to you. Well, he ain't listen to me either. But he let me know. He said, look, man, I know y'all love me, but y'all Negroes leave me alone. And see, folks, that's kind of the way we should be about each other. Now, he and none of my friends go here. I shouldn't have said it that way, but you know what I meant. I'm not saying I don't have any friends here. Okay. I'm working on my delivery, too. I heard that, Z. Folks, our relationships are important. Our relationships with each other. Let's learn how to work within the parameters that we have. So if nothing else, let's work on our church relationships. We'll start there. And so when we start asking one another how we're doing, we mean it. Don't give me the standard Christian response. If you're not doing so well, be honest enough to say, well, today's a little tough. Today's a little tough. Doesn't mean you don't believe in God. Doesn't believe you turn your back on the Most High. Today's just tough. Let's bring a little more humanity to the surface. Our own humanity. Because when it's all said and done, we just mostly flesh and blood. And when you have a loss, be it a friend, and Lord help you if it's a loved one, but a real friend or somebody that was very important to you, someone you were very close with, someone that maybe helped you through a situation or that you helped through a situation. Those things are what you get to hold on to when they graduate. Here's another. Psalm 34:19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. Even when we suffer loss, he's still with us. And you've been to the dentist, and sometimes if they got to do something extensive, they'll kind of put some stuff on your gum, and then they'll say, well, you're going to feel a little pinch. Sometimes you feel that pinch, but boy, sometimes if they don't put enough of that stuff on it, man, if they hit a nerve, you're going to jump out that chair. But I'm saying this to say, see, sometimes when loss comes, he's still saying, I got you. Now, that's not the kind of deliverance we want. We want things the way we can understand them and the way they've been preached and taught to us, that when he says yes, he makes everything like it was before. But see, time is still going. And all of us have an expiration date. We just don't know when it is. Every one of us. And again, I'm not trying to be morbid or anything, but with all of this stuff happening, I know myself, I think more and more and more about, my goodness, what am I going to graduate to? Is it a promotion? I can't take a demotion. Life is precious, saints. And even in this kind of climate, I pray you find some enjoyment. Now, I know if you're dealing with recent loss, you almost want to say, Barry, just shut up. And I get that. I understand that. And I'm not asking you to put on a happy face. But I'm saying don't forget there is still joy in living. And the same God that let the sun shine will be the same God that make it rain. And he still has us. And he alone are the only ones. He knows all of our expiration dates. Some of us may not expire. I don't know. Here's another. Cast thy burden upon the Lord. Psalm 55:22. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. Now, for those of you that say, well, golly, wouldn't he take people? What is that? Preacher? Which I don't consider myself. We do know after some years of study, sometimes leaving here is healing. That is healing. We all know what? To be absent from the body is to be present. Barry, that still doesn't make me feel any better. I know, I understand, and I'm dealing with it too. But it doesn't change the fact that he still reigns supreme. Even in our moments of not understanding what's going on and why things are happening the way that they are. But we still have the medium of prayer, and we can ask him whatever we will. And he may choose to answer. But it appears that what he wants is, in good times, call on me. In bad times, call on me. I'm God, not me. He's saying, I'm God. I wound, I heal, I kill, I make alive. I'm God. And you rarely, rarely ever hear that taught. But it's in the scriptures. And so every day that we awake, that's another opportunity to walk with him, to be with him. Even to tell him, Father, this is bitter. This is bitter. It's okay. And again, I'm not saying it's okay like I'm in authority. He can handle us. He can handle our attitudes. He can handle our misunderstandings and still love us. He heals the broken heart. We're going to get back in Job because, see, a lot of this is in Job, but I even in all of this, we're to draw closer to him. Now, some of us might say, well, I don't want to draw too close because Enoch walked so close with him, he just got translated out. If he chooses to translate us, we're going to get translated. But the way that was described, it was a good thing. Now, again, you know, what's the old adage? Everybody want to go to heaven, but don't nobody want to die? Isaiah 41:10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. And I know sometimes when loss occurs, you really feel alone. But we're not alone. And that's the time to get even, you know, most of us, when things go south, we press in closer. If you think back over some times that weren't so pleasant in your life, after you gave your heart to him, that was the only card you had left to play. Because sometimes, you might be connected. The one that brought the pain is right there with you. The human being that brought the pain might be right there with you. And the only one you could cry out to was the one that let that pain come. What did Job say? Even if he slay me, I'm going to still serve him. A lot of that sounds like church talk. Job was coming from the heart after what he had been through, and he meant that. I'm not going to get into that, but it's a lot of stuff in that book that will help us deal with these times now. And that's real faith. That's real faith, not a lot of stuff that we wrote a lot of checks to and bought a lot of books and CDs and DVDs, and you want to understand faith, get into Job. Get into Job. And stop reciting the stuff that we all recite. Because that doesn't really answer what faith is. It's good for a certain SECT in Christianity, but I'm talking about dealing with the Most High. I'm talking about Torah. Okay, something out the Brit Hadashah. We know this one too. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. And again, when stuff's not so good, we got to remind ourselves, hey, I'm here for him. But it's easy to forget that. It is. It's easy because you're getting into your career. And have you noticed everything that we've been striving hard for, it's just falling apart left and right? Well, Barry, see here, you don't know. See, I got in this industry because this industry is recession-proof. Nothing's recession-proof. If you provide a product, service, or whatever, if folks ain't got no money, how they gonna support your business? How they gonna support your industry? And here's another thing. Industries are being wiped out. So I'm trying to tell all of these dime store professionals, you better be writing in that book that I gave you, and you better be tracking your money while it still has value. These are serious times, folks. Very, very serious times. But I'm here to say, even in serious times, you can still enjoy life. Now, it's hard when you suffer loss like that, and it's going to take a while. And that while is not up to some pastor, some evangelist, some, whatever the titles people give themselves. That's up to you. That's up to you. And don't let somebody tell you, oh, you've mourned enough. Because they better be careful. Because that lost thing may be visiting them soon. Have you ever heard somebody so surefire themselves, they giving all this kind of fluky advice? And then the same thing they advise, well, girl, I wouldn't stand for that. I'd do this, and this. And then 2 weeks later, they going through the same thing. Fall to pieces like a cheap suit. I've seen it. You find out that all that stuff you got ain't worth a plug nickel. But even that person deserves some compassion, even though they were so full of themselves and so sure they had the answer. It's tough dealing with loss. But how you feel, that's how you feel. And the Most High can deal with it. Sometimes your brothers and sisters might can't. Sometimes your church members definitely don't get it. Because they've been taught to look at things, well, after this should happen. A, B, C, D, E. And serving the Most High is not that chopped up. It's not like that. At least that's not the way Torah reads. Now, a lot of stuff that we've been given that we thought was Torah may make you think, well, if this happens, just do A, B, C, and D, and it's going to be fine. It's not quite. And don't forget this, everything is up to Him. Not up to whoever your pastor is, not up to whoever you studied under, not up to who you studied with. It's up to the one that made you, how things are going to fare in each one of our lives. And death. God bless you.